Hey everyone, Needs More Drums here, and welcome to Accelerando, a city with a name that comes from a musical term meaning faster. And that's our goal here, to build a functioning and realistic city in only 12 hours. And oh yeah, it's 100% vanilla. Instead of recording this all at once though and showing you the final product, I decided to bring you all along for the ride. So let's get started. Alright, so if you've been following the channel for a while, you might remember that I built a city like this in Cities Skylines 1. And with Cities Skylines 2 being a little bit more stable, I figured, I'd give it a shot in this game and see if I've gotten any better as a builder compared to Cities Skylines 1. So to keep things moving along, this city was built in easy mode with everything unlocked, but I still had money enabled. So this forced me to be somewhat conscious of my spending, but I didn't want to wait for money to slowly trickle in. And, I wanted to build the city around major features that otherwise might not have been unlocked until, the later milestones. So like any city, we're beginning with a blank canvas. The name of this map is in the description and can be found on Paradox Mods. I forgot the name of it, but I do remember that it's funny that the creator of this map also made the same map that I used for my 12-hour city in Cities Skylines 1. So coincidence? I don't think so. But I like this map because it sort of, the topography makes it work in a way where you feel like you can build a full, interestingly laid out city without just having like some giant flat plane that you're just going to drag out a grid forever and ever. Like the buildable area in this starting area here is enough to make a city feel kind of complete, but you can do a lot of different things with the way that the land works. And that's what I'm trying, kind of the approach that I'm kind of taking here. So anyway, we're going to be documenting an hour of the build in each episode. So that's the theme for this series. That's different than my Cities Skylines 1 12-hour city. And you can see here that we are obviously beginning the first hour of the build by really focusing on the road and highway network. And so this is something that I don't usually do. I don't usually just go into a build and just master plan like an entire road layout. So it's kind of interesting, to think like as we're placing down these major roadways, where are certain districts going to sit? And so this part of the map here that you're seeing now, this is going to be where the downtown is going to sit. And I have this highway here now, and I don't think I'm going to keep this. I kind of thought about it after I recorded this episode. I think I might transition this part of the highway in the middle to kind of like a more of an arterial avenue, or like a big, a real big kind of main road with just a lot less connections. But I don't know if the highway is really like the best thing for the city. I don't really know if it's needed at that point. But anyway, it is worth mentioning that this was recorded before the Bridges and Ports DLC. So this and the next episode were both recorded before that. So I know that they released a patch that did a lot of economy adjustments and fixed some other bugs with the games and everything. So there's going to be, I feel like the economy, I've played the game a little bit since the patch in some like off-camera cities, and I feel like the economy is going to be very interesting. I felt like I was making money a lot quicker than I was before the DLC and before the patch. So I was making a lot of money really early on, and I felt like the budget wasn't as much of a challenge for me. I mean, I've kind of figured it out anyway with this game, how the budget works. And with this being in easy mode, we started with like $35 million, and the budget is naturally going to work a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit easier to get some money flowing in because there are like subsidies and stuff. But now that I'm looking back on it, like I kind of didn't really need that. I think kind of after the patch, but so what? This gives me the ability to still kind of have the money as a little bit of something in the background to kind of be aware of, but also I didn't want it to be like the limiting factor, because I felt like before the patch, it just took forever to make money. Like I would be in a city in the first couple milestones just trying to get through it, and it's like I never had enough money to make like big investments. And this, I didn't really want it to be an issue at the start, because I wanted to get some kind of bigger infrastructure things set down very early on in the build, so that I kind of knew where stuff was going to go, that otherwise I wouldn't really do that. But anyway, so I'm just trying to figure out where some of these main roads are going to go, and I'm sort of kind of playing off the topography a little bit. And there's not much of an existing road network in this map, which is something else that I like. Like typically in my cities, you'll see me do a lot of this main road kind of along the coastline type thing. I do this in literally like every city that I build. And I am going to say that I think a lot of this stuff in, maybe not a lot, but some of the roads in this episode are going to be changed. I was just kind of looking at it like as I was watching this back and saying, I don't really know if some of these roads are kind of in the right spot. I feel like I might have overdone it on the main roads, and I probably could, remove a couple of the main roads and go for more, just expand like one little district grid, so to speak. So I think I might go back and kind of make some of those changes. And like this part right here is why I'm thinking that I might switch to more of like a main avenue, because to fit like on like a little interchange here between these main roads and this highway, I think it would just be really busy, and this part of the map just isn't that big. So I feel like it doesn't really need an entire, like big four-way interchange. And I know the road building tools in this game kind of really allow you to do like great things when it comes to building interchanges, and you can kind of get pretty compact with them. But even so, I just don't know if it's really kind of the right fit here. I think we could just, maybe make a main road replace this highway with a main road, and then just like throw a big roundabout, in there or something, and kind of call it a day instead of like spending time messing with interchanges and on ramps and off ramps. And it's just like they just take up a lot of space, and I don't think we really have the space, nor will we have the population density, or I mean maybe not the density so to speak, but like just the size, the volume of people that we're going to need like these big high capacity interchanges in this city. That's not to say, I'm kind of thinking maybe the future in this series, like if I like the city that I build, maybe I'll kind of expand on this series and do like another 10 or 12 hour build in a different part of the map, like build a whole nother city and then connect the two and kind of slowly like develop this region sort of piece by piece, but kind of building each city with its own unique traits. And that's, I know there's only so much I can say about like the road network here. So I'm going to talk about just kind of, why I did this a little bit, and just some other things about the game. But I really find myself in Cities Skylines, I struggle to, it feels like it takes a long time until your city kind of gets somewhere. It feels like you chip away at like little, you jump in the game for, an hour or two, and you chip away at an area, and then you're like, all right, now I gotta, shut it off and kind of come back to it. And then you kind of go to another area, and it just, I feel like for me, I have trouble ever making a city feel like complete. And, where I could look at it and be like, yeah, I'm done with that. I'm happy with that. And just kind of step away and go, build something new, build something different. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I want to get something, that feels somewhat complete. It feels like it's functional. It has all of the components of a complete city. So like public transit, infrastructure, schools, different districts, different neighborhoods, little suburbs and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what we're going to try to do in this series, is we're going to capture the essence of a big city in sort of this smaller footprint, but I want it to feel cohesive, and I want it to feel complete. And I felt like I did that in my Cities Skylines 1 attempt at something like this. I felt like when I took a step back and looked at the city, I was like, it feels like somewhat pretty much done. Like everything was there. It had, industry, it had, like specialized industry, it had a bunch of public transit. And I want to do that again. I want to see if I'm any better at kind of building something, here. I feel like the game it works. It's a city builder at the end of the day, right? But it's a little bit different than Cities Skylines 1. There are some different mechanics to work out, and it's just like, I've been playing this game a lot, but I haven't built a city yet where I feel like it's super complete. I have my other series that's ongoing, my Grand Keys series, and that's going to be ongoing as the city's kind of growing with the game, and we're going to be expanding that still, in the future. But I thought this was just a fun little challenge to kind of take my mind off things. I've been working on Grand Keys for a long time. It's I've been working on that since the game came out pretty much, and here we are 2 years later, and I still haven't really built like a complete city where I can test out new mechanics and new features of the game, and see how they impact existing build. And so that's kind of what this is going to be for. It's going to be something that we come back to in the future. We can use the city for like testing purposes, or maybe if I'm just bored and want to jump in and kind of play the game a little bit and just build something different, or kind of upgrade it here and there and see what we can do. That'll be fun too. It's always fun to go back into your old builds and see how bad it is, right? Like look at the traffic. Like right now, I don't know why I'm doing why I'm putting down 4 avenues all in the same place. Like this just doesn't need to be here. I mean, maybe one of it, like this one, I think I might keep that I just deleted and kind of rebuilt there. Like that one going around, I think that would be a good way to get people kind of around more of like a compact downtown area. But yeah, like these one-way roads, you know, I wanted to use some one-way roads here. I envision that this is where the downtown's going to go, and we'll spend an episode later. You know, once we get kind of everything in place, we'll spend an episode or two maybe just detailing a little bit. And so that's like, you'll see on the left side there, kind of at the bottom of the screen, I know that there's a part of the land that kind of juts out, and that's going to be like a nature feature. You know, I kind of want to build like a little park around that. We'll have some pathways. We'll have maybe a couple of park assets so that, you know, it makes it a functional park and people will actually go to that area. And, you know, that's kind of the goal. The goal here is to, you know, like I said, make this feel realistic, make this feel complete. And, you know, that'll mean kind of spending some time detailing a little bit. You know, I'm not going to spend all my time detailing, of course, because the goal is not to detail the city. It's to, you know, build it and make it functional. But, you know, it comes with the caveat that, like, we are going to have to spend a little bit of time detailing. And I think that'll tie it all together, you know, once we start putting down pathways, parks, trees, things like that. Just, it goes from making the city, you know, functional to making the city feel really alive. And I know that this game, it's that feeling has kind of been lacking a little bit, where the cities kind of lack some of the life that they did in Cities Skylines 1. Like the parks, you know, there's not people playing at the parks. They're just kind of standing there. Like you put down a basketball court and there's nobody playing basketball. So it'll be nice once we have those animations that will make the city feel a little bit more alive. But even, you know, even now I like to try to make it to where people are walking around. You know, I like to have a lot of pathways, pedestrian friendly stuff. You know, I like to add a lot of parks, a lot of green space. And it's just a great way to fill like some awkward spaces in the city. Sometimes, you know, if your grid doesn't line up and you want to fill the space, you know, throw a couple pathways and a couple trees, and now we have like services and props and things we can mess with, and you can still make something kind of cool. So yeah, but anyway, I think it's cool that this is 100% vanilla. I'll be honest, I haven't really played with any mods yet in Cities Skylines 2. I've heard that there are some pretty cool ones out. I just, you know, and I've looked at them, but I think I've found sort of a fun, like, comforting aspect about playing in the vanilla game, because every single time that a patch comes out, I don't have to worry about my save game breaking. I don't have to wait for my mods to update. And the big thing is I don't have to worry about the game crashing, really. In my first few episodes of Grand Keys in my other series, when the game kind of first came out, and real quick here, this is the complex curve tool that I'm going to use. That's a great tool if you don't know how to use it. Check it out. It's I feel like underutilized, but pretty interesting. But anyway, yeah, like when the game first came out, I was experiencing a lot of crashes in vanilla. It was so frustrating trying to record, and my game would keep crashing. And so I just put the game on the shelf, and I was like, I'm stepping away for a minute. You know, it was unplayable. I mean, it was like every 10 minutes my game would just crash, and I was getting so frustrated. And then there was a patch one of the patches came out, and it kind of fixed it. And that was it. You know, I was really happy after the fact and getting back into the game, and, you know, being able to play it without crashing. And knock on wood, I've not had any of those issues. I feel like the game is way more stable now. That's why I decided to do something like this, you know, do a fun little challenge series. I've learned a lot kind of about what works and what doesn't work in this game, and how to make, you know, something look relatively decent, I think. So we're giving it a shot. And yeah, you can see here that this area here is going to be like a extension of the downtown, kind of thinking like a medium density, you know, suburb type build. This area at the bottom of the screen right now, where this road is curving, that I think I'm just about to downgrade this road. Actually, I didn't know why I made this like an avenue. It doesn't need to be. Yeah, there we go. This is going to be like maybe like a waterfront university. I always kind of put those. I like to do something like that, where, you know, there's a university, there's a hospital. It's like, you know, that's going to be an important piece of infrastructure for our city. But yeah, I keep kind of planning out where this interchange is going to go here. I'm not actually going to build it in this episode, just because I didn't want to really spend the time. I feel like that would be, I do make a couple of highway connections just to get people in the city. And I need to look, I forget if this usually like this map is an island, so usually people will kind of hide like a highway connection to connect off the map somewhere. But with an island, you got to be a little bit sneaky about it. You know, it kind of goes like underground and probably just goes under the ocean. I got to find that. I got to make sure that there is one. If not, we're going to have to rely on ships and airplanes to get people in here. But, you know, I'll build a port anyway with the new DLC. Well, that'll probably take like half an episode to do anyway. But yeah, looking forward to doing that. But here, that's like a little, I just dragged out like what would have been like a state road, like an old state road, you know, before the highway was built. That little rural road there is probably what you would use to get around this area. So I'm thinking of like when I went to college, there was a road called State Road 37, and you could take old State Road 37 when the new one was under construction. And it was always nice to take kind of the more scenic route, you know, like a little 2-lane road like that. Always really fun. So I kind of like to pay homage to that and, you know, keep those kinds of things in my cities. But yeah, here just building a couple tiles. We're going to make this highway connection that is actually modeled after the highway connection to old State Road 37. It's one of these ones where it doesn't connect in all 4 ways. You can get on one way and get off on the other side, but you know, that's it. You'll see what I mean here in a second. And so I like to, you know, think about that and think that this is just a quick way to get in and out of the city. And that's really the goal here, is just like, I want to get a way to get people moving in if they have to. And we are going to build one more interchange in this episode, which, you know, having 2 points of connection to the highway for now, I think is fine. I think we'll focus, you know, a little bit on some of the other interchanges and highway connections a little bit later on. But for now, I just wanted a way to get people into the city. So kind of the roadmap for the episodes, I think this one is all about roads. The second one is going to be focused on, you know, power, water, garbage, like that kind of critical infrastructure, and a rail. I already know what's in it because I recorded it before I did this commentary, but we're gonna do trains as well and get a rail network kind of going here. And then we actually expand on the road network as well, you know, in some of the more areas to kind of like the left of this right now, like on that other side of the highway. That'll be like an industrial area and everything. And so here, you know, this is going to be a nice little town square. I'm envisioning, you know, some one-way roads, some medium density commercial buildings, maybe even some mixed use. And then around it, we'll have just some low density suburbs, still kind of following like an urban grid layout, but, you know, focused on more like lower density, just kind of smaller homes and smaller plots of land. And one thing that I want to mention with this episode is kind of one thing that I like to do with my roads is I like to make them go somewhere. And that sounds really dumb and like, yeah, roads need to go somewhere, you know, but some people I feel like don't really consider that. And there might be aspects here where you guys might think like, oh man, you're talking like you know what you're doing, but you have no idea what you're doing because these roads are going nowhere. But I really feel like I try to make an effort to make my roads actually have a destination. So, you know, when I make a main road, like a through street, you know, I try to make it connect to another main road to kind of serve as a you know, point to point connection that people can actually use to get to and from major areas. And it's hard to explain like what I'm talking about, but like, you know, I feel like some people just drag out roads and they don't really seem to connect to anything. It's like they kind of all come to a point, nothing really goes like through, and you're just kind of putting roads around, but the people, they're not, you can't really get anywhere with it. You have to go, there's not like a straightforward path. And even this right here, you know, what I need to do is tie that bridge directly into that avenue and kind of avoid like that left turn. So I might do like a little S curve there, go back and fix that a little bit later. But you know, it's things like that where you want traffic to flow and you want to kind of direct which roads are going to be your main roads. And a lot of that just comes from the connection points that you make. You know, where are your small streets, side streets connecting to your collectors and your arterial roads, and how is that, you know, directing traffic flow in and around your city too. You know, it's important to kind of keep, if you want, you know, traffic to go around and kind of be diverted around a certain area, you know, making sure that your roads are doing that is very important, right? So I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. I'm not an urban planner, but I really feel like, you know, it's fun to kind of think about these things and think about why this highway is here and why these main roads are here, right? Like where do these come from? You know, what's kind of the history of your city? Like, do I want to just drag a highway straight through the middle of my city for no reason? Like, no, you know, I mean, that highway is going to be there for a reason. There's a story behind that, right? Like maybe it was you know, there was a rail line there or something, or maybe, you know, this was a way to get, you know, to an old industrial area, right? So we want to think about those things as we kind of build all of this out, even though it's hard with the fact that we have a limited time to do this. And already I know that, you know, as I'm building this interchange, this is kind of one of the last major things that I'm doing. I think I have maybe 10 minutes left in my timer at this point. Every time I log in and log in, it's not work. Every time I open the game and you know, do this, I always set like an hour timer on my phone. So the cool thing about these episodes is that you're getting to see like most of the build. I cut out only a few things where I'm kind of just, you know, jumping the camera around for like a uncomfortable amount of time, where it's just like, hey, you don't want to see me just, you know, look around for 30 seconds or whatever. But besides that, you get to see like the entire build, which I think is really different than my other series. Is, you know, I kind of cut the video down to fit the time limit of the episode, but this one, you know, that since I'm recording it in nice like hour segments, all the episodes are going to be similar length, and they're all like very reasonable. You know, 25-ish minutes I think is a good length episode, and it's just nice to be able to do that and to you know, record that way. It makes it like really easy for everything to kind of flow together. So yeah, I'm excited for this series. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm curious to see what I build. I don't have, you know, super high expectations. I think it's going to be a little, you know, it's not going to be the greatest build ever, and it's going to, you know, there might be some things that are a little bit goofy, and definitely, you know, some mistakes, I'm sure, or some oversights, you know, but on my part, where I'm going to do something that I probably shouldn't have done. But, you know, we can always look back at the end and make some corrections, and that's the fun of it too. Like I said, going back and seeing, you know, where those areas are that we can improve, because that's what happens in real life. You know, cities grow and they change, and, you know, there's no exception here. So that'll be a reason to kind of come back to the city and keep working on it in the future. But yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun to give this another try and just see what comes of this build. So stay tuned for the next couple of episodes. We're just about to wrap up here, and after we build this last little area, that's going to be kind of another suburb, I think, another little like town square area here. I like building those. It reminds me of a town kind of by my hometown. So very, very fun to do that. And yeah, we got this nice river here and everything. It's just a nice map. I feel like we're going to be able to build something kind of cool on this, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Probably going to go for like a waterfront focus with the new Bridges and Ports DLC, but anyway, we'll see. So thank you guys very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode, and I hope that you all have a great week. Peace out.